What's going on, everybody? Jesse Montaño, Meghan Angley here. Avs just wrapped this one up, and Meghan, we got a little bit spoiled on this homestand. The Avs do drop the final game of this four-game homestand, going 3-1 on the whole trip. Tonight wasn't a great night, though, Meghan, against the Washington Capitals. Got a few questions here. Meghan's in the hot seat, so we're just going to kick it off. From Abby, tonight seemed like an off night for the Avs. Any thoughts about that?
It definitely was an off night. I think they strayed from things that bring them success, and I don't look at the reintroduction of some of these guys like Duran and Wood and Nichushkin as being the reason for it. The things that they were doing well before those guys returned to the lineup just sort of stopped happening. One thing that I didn't like was how they created offensively. They possessed the puck a lot this night, which was great, but they didn't pick very good quality chances. So you look at the heat map on Natural Stat Trick for this game, it's a lot of creation happening on the perimeter, not so much at the goal mouth, which is usually where they get the most dangerous. And so on the whole, I didn't feel like Jared Bednar used the words, their passes weren't connecting. That is, I think, my assessment too. Just in terms of how they created, it felt like some of their best chances came accidentally. And I think this is a team that, when intentional, can be very dangerous offensively, just like the Washington Capitals. That's the team that capitalized on their chances tonight, and I think that was the difference maker for the Avs. You know, some of the best performances or lines seem to be the ones that were heavy on the forecheck and controlling possession in the O-zone. I just think I needed to see the team be a little bit more intentional. I think, too, that's where you see execution issues in that end, is what leads to turnovers, which caused at least 2 goals against tonight. So I think that's kind of my overview of the game. Didn't quite look like themselves.
You just mentioned that you didn't think it was a product of those 3 players coming back in. We got a question here from Matt. Was there an option to gradually insert the 3 guys back? All 3 in the same game had me worried it would mess up the chemistry of multiple lines.
I thought the lines, you look at the possession line by line, and it actually was pretty good. So I do think there is a very real component of them needing to get adjusted to one another a little bit. But lines like the Wood, Kovalenko, Kelly line, specifically, not one that had ordinarily been playing, but perhaps my favorite of the night. So I do think some of it is good to just throw them into the fire, to be honest with you, because I don't think they can really afford to waste games and have guys just continue to set out. It's important for them to get up to game speed. And I do hope that this was the end of them shaking the rust off, because in terms of how they looked healthy. I thought that Jonathan Drouin looked healthy. I thought that Nichushkin looked powerful. And Wood, similarly. He's a guy that Jared Bednar didn't call out by name as someone that he liked on the night, so I think that's something we'll need to pay attention to more closely to see how Wood sort of inserts himself back into this lineup in a way that Bednar trusts and is going to make an impact.
I agree with all that, honestly. From D, why does it seem like Georgiev gets scored on 7 times and he's still, quote, the guy? And Annunen lets in 3 and they pull him. I have my thoughts on this, but I want to hear yours.
I like all the goaltenders, but the ways that the goals against happened tonight, I think, are where Justus Annunen doesn't look so good. And there are some bad turnovers, but there are some shots that are pretty uncontested. That's where I look at the D a little bit like you could have probably gapped up on that guy a little bit more aggressively, but even still, a lack of screens, a lack of presence at the net meant he had a clear line of vision on some of these goals against, and it was 3-on-6 shots. You just need to come up with some saves, especially if you are trying to make the argument of yanking that net back in your favor, at least in getting some more starts and sharing them with Georgiev. You especially then need to come up with some saves. It's not to say that the team in front of him played perfectly. There are absolutely some breakdowns, including those 2 turnovers I mentioned, but that is my issue. There are some shots from distance that he should have had a better line of sight on, and he just wasn't in the right place.
She nailed it. I don't have to add anything else. You nailed it. From FYN, was our top 6 just that bad tonight, or was it the Caps being good at defense?
I actually think it was just the top 6 not being good tonight. This isn't even some kind of dig at the Washington Capitals. You made the comment about how crazy they were going over a blocked shot, like you might not regularly be doing that. It wasn't that the Caps were bad defensively. I just think that the Avs were their own worst enemy, and that top 6 included. I just watched Mikko Rantanen score a hat trick, and it just felt like the creation wasn't quite there. Those touches just weren't quite there the way that they're used to. They weren't finding seams the way they needed to and driving inside ice, like I talked about, playing on the perimeter too much. And it was everybody, but also those top guys that you just expect a little bit more from because they've been playing so well. The Nathan MacKinnon home point streak comes to an end tonight. It's a little bit sad to see that one.
Not as controversial this time around. And then we're going to wrap things up with our girl Avery here. What was Minor like after his start? An exciting night for him.
He was happy. He described the moment as surreal, but he was very businesslike. I think he was unhappy about the Chychrun goal, because he looked pretty dialed in after that moment, and I think he was wanting it back. I think he wanted to make an even better impression and was not feeling great that the Avs couldn't pull out the win. But I think he was overall pretty excited about the opportunity and definitely acknowledged how it came about in an unconventional way. But I thought he stepped up into it pretty well, and he played with confidence, especially coming in cold like that.
You and I both kind of said, oh no, when he first came in. I thought he settled in nice. I'm right there with you, Megan. That's going to do it here. We will be on the road for this 4-game road trip, so we're bringing you guys all the great coverage from the road. But that'll do it here for this 4-game homestand. We've had a lot of fun here at Ball Arena this week, but it ends on a little bit of a dud for the Avalanche. But like I said, we'll be right back at it this weekend in Philly. For Megan, I'm Jesse. Mark behind the camera as always. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll talk to you this weekend.